Today, and on behalf of, my name is Marilyn Reiner, by the way, and on behalf of Commander J.T. Townsend and the Greater Fort Worth Civic Leaders Association, we'd like to welcome you to this 18th annual barbecue here at the base. Thank you all for being here, and I just want you to just give yourself a big hand and let's just say yay for this awesome food. We're thrilled to have you here. It's our honor with this barbecue to honor you who serve our country, to provide protection for our community, those who serve in the military, those who serve the military, and our families, our communities, and our constitutional rights. We hope you've enjoyed some of the pre-programmed music we had. Great, fabulous musicians that come a long way and work really hard to entertain you and just show you their appreciation in the music. One of the gals we had was Mary Faye Jackson. She's singer, songwriter, musician from Gainesville, Texas. She and her family host the award-winning TV show Texas Country Gospel. Mary Faye, where are you? Just wave. Where are you? Mary Faye, oh, there they are. Oh, we got a musician's table over there. All right, that's Mary Faye Jackson. Dwayne Farrow is a former member of the Air Force Band of the West. He's a retired school music teacher, guitarist, trombonist, and featured soloist. He had his Master of Music degree from University of Texas, San Antonio. And he's got 2 released CDs and has had many TV performances. Dwayne, thank you so much for being here with us today. You just heard from Michael Leichner. Michael is all the way from Mays, Kansas, which is up by Wichita, Kansas. He's a preacher, pastor, songwriter, musician, and he was recently recognized in Nashville as an outstanding musician. Michael, wave over there. Thank you so much for being here and blessing us and blessing this group this morning. I want to also tell you that all 3 of these awesome musicians have CDs over here, and I want you to all go buy them up. They're probably just like 25 or 50 bucks or something like that, but I want you to support them. And I hope you've been enjoying this amazing barbecue by Coburn's here in Fort Worth. Great barbecue. Thank you, Coburn's, for hosting all of that. Yeah. At this time, if you would please rise to honor the flag and our country with the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. Chaplain Chuck Latham, please bring in our invocation.
Almighty God, creator and sustainer of the universe, who equips each of us individually with talents and gifts. And with those talents and gifts, each one of the individuals and men and women here have dedicated it to the service of our country. Those who have served, those who are serving, and those who will serve. We thank you for this time of fellowship, and we thank you for the wonderful meal that we are so grateful to be able to provide in recognition of the service of those who are here today. Thank you again. Take the food to the nourisher of our body. In your holy name, amen.
We have very special guests here today. And of course, our host, Captain J.T. Townsend. A very special guest, Representative Kay Granger, is with us today. Also, a representative from the Texas Rangers, representing the Faces of Freedom, Ray Cases, is over here from the Texas Rangers. He's right there. As a matter of fact, I wanted to mention he has former pitcher Mike Adams here with him today. Mike can only stay for about an hour, so he is signing autographs right over there. Mike, thank you for being here with us today, and Ray too. They'll be right over here at this table. So you can go get a picture taken. Also, we have on the platform 8 very special veterans that we will be honoring later in the program. And our guest speaker today, Mr. Don Graves, is going to be entertaining us and inspiring us in just a short moment. First, I would like, though, to welcome the president of the Greater Fort Worth Civic Leaders Organization and the Fort Worth Community Charities to come to the microphone here, Mr. Lyle Olfke. If you would just welcome him. Lyle does so much work for this organization, puts on the barbecue every year. Mr. Lyle Olfke, please welcome him.
First, I want to thank Captain Townsend for allowing us to hold this event here today, and also to Commander Byers for allowing us to use this hangar for the barbecue. And I want to thank the Marines for all their work in setting up these tables and chairs and making it possible to hold the event. Now I want to welcome all of my relatives here today. I think maybe I've told you before that we have a common aunt and uncle, Uncle Adam and Aunt Eve. In fact, that makes us all related, so would you give a nod of recognition to your distant relatives near you? I want to thank Chief Lacey Bowles and Nell Storr and their team for making it possible to put this together from the base side and for getting you here into the hangar today. Thank you. We're holding this event not only to show our appreciation for what you do for our country, but the work of community service work that's outstanding, and you do so much for the community and serving in so many ways. Thank you for that. Our first barbecue was held 18 years ago, then I could stand erect and I didn't have platinum blonde hair. This base is so important to us economically. It provides well over $1 billion annually to the economy of our communities in this area. So we thank you for that, and we want to keep the base here for now on. Thank you. Now, would all the civilians here please stand and give these wonderful men and women serving us a standing ovation. Thank you. And there's one other guest, if he's here, he said he was coming, and a longtime friend, and was not a running back in not one Super Bowl, but 4 Super Bowls, and running back star at TCU. So the Temple Tornado, Kenneth Davis is here. Please stand and give a wave. Just maybe Kenneth didn't make it. Then I'm going to turn the microphone back over to my distant cousin, Marilyn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hey, Lyle, before you leave, is Sid Epps, are you here? Very distinguished, there he is. We have a very distinguished contributor to who's also the executive director of the Fort Worth Air Power Council. Sid, will you come on up here? Don't you have something for Lyle or that you wanted to bring, or was it?
Wanted to bring.
Was this impromptu? Well, why don't you just come on up here. This is Mr. Sid Epps. Sid, thank you for being here and being a great contributor to the Civic Leaders Organization and the Fort Worth Air Power Foundation. It's a private kind of presentation. It's a private kind of presentation. Okay. Well, okay. Well, why don't you just tell everybody? Just, hey, Sid, grab that microphone. There you go. Let's tell everyone. All right.
I'm Sid Epps, chairman of the Air Power Foundation. It's a privilege for us to support this organization, and we've supported Lyle Lovett for a number of years. So we are glad to present a check to Lyle and to this organization. And we appreciate all that they do, and thank you all for being here. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Could I also just invite Captain Townsend then to come and, in fact, if you'll just come right there, that'd be great, Captain Townsend. And I think Kyle's got something for you since you're up here. All right?
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. I get credit for being the host of this event. I really can't. What I do is give access to all of you to come and do what you do. Beautiful backdrop of the C-40 aircraft, and the actual host in the building is VR-59, the Lone Star Express. So they're the ones that will allow this really to happen in this particular facility, which is perfect. So this is my third one of these. And the first one was very intimidating to me, but I was very quickly made feel comfortable. What this is all about, and thank you to Lyle, Congresswoman Granger, thank you very much, ma'am, for blessing us with your presence here today. This is her base. She started this whole thing, but what this event really is, oh, and General Borgen, 10th Air Force new commander, welcome, sir. What this really is, it's about us. It's about this family that's sitting here around the table and sharing some food and breaking bread. I've learned that in Fort Worth, and so the base gets the honor and the privilege of having all of you great Americans come together and do stuff like this more than any town, I think, in this country. So thank you all for coming, and I'll turn it back over.
Does it work? Yeah. While we're up here, we have a little award for you with the Ms. Lutz come up and hand that to Captain Townsend, and you might read it.
In recognition
She
of
is
your...
with Lockheed Martin, and they were one of the big contributors this year.
So this is the Lockheed Martin Award, and it says, in recognition of your leadership of the NASJRB and the important services you provide to our community. Thank you, Captain Townsend. Very wonderful. Well, thank you, Lockheed Martin. Well, I'm very honored to introduce to you our next very special guest, a woman that is quite an inspiration for the state of Texas and also our country. And it's really an honor for me to tell you about Miss Kay Granger. She is the U.S. Representative, Kay Granger, Congresswoman, who was born in Greenville, Texas. Now, I was given this, so I hope it's all correct. Her hometown, though, is Fort Worth. She graduated from Texas Wesleyan. She is a representative of the U.S. House of Representatives, District 12, from '96 until presently. She was also the mayor of the city of Fort Worth from 1991 to 1995 prior to that. Representative Granger has served on many caucuses and committees, among them that are militarily related. There's a very, very long list, but I'm going to hit just a few of them. She's a member of the Army Caucus, of the Congressional Air Power Caucus, former chair in the Defense Subcommittee, U.S. House of Representatives, member of the House and Senate Working Group of Aerospace Defense, the co-chair of the Joint Strike Force Caucus, and member of the USO Congressional Caucus. Representative Granger is a member of many organizations, including that are related to the military. These are just a few of which are related to the military. But first, the Board of Visitors for the U.S. Air Force Academy, Components, Congressional Member Organization, the National Guard and Reserve, Daughter of the American Revolution, she's in the National Cowgirl Hall of Fame. She's a recipient of numerous, just too many to mention, rewards, but a few of which are the Fort Worth Business Hall of Fame, the Air Force Foundation Award, Texas Women's Hall of Fame member, the Global War on Terrorism coin, Secretary of Defense, from Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld. She's an outstanding Texan and a great representative for Fort Worth and District 12. Please welcome to the platform, Representative Kay Granger.
That's a long list, but I just got another award. Thank you, Lyle, for this. Thank you. Thank you, Lyle, and all that are part of the Greater Fort Worth Civic Leaders Association. Captain Townsend, thank you for your leadership, and here at the Joint Reserve Base. I want to congratulate all the veterans that are receiving an award today, and all the veterans who have served for us. We can never thank you enough. We can never show you enough appreciation, but thank you. I'll tell you, when I left as mayor and went to Congress, as part of the delegation from Texas, if you're elected to the Congress, they ask you, the way they put it is, Kay, what track do you want to run on? What do you want to do when you're in Congress? Said some members, they can't answer that because they really said, well, I'll just wait and kind of see how it turns out. My response was immediate. I said, I want to keep our nation safe and support our military and make sure it's the greatest military in the world, always. This city started as an Army fort on the Trinity River. That was 1849. And our base, the space you're in, traced its roots from World War II through the 1990s. I say through the 1990s because I served as mayor beginning 1991, and that's when there was a really bad decision made to close this base. It's called a BRAC. It was a horrible day. I'll never forget it as long as I live, because this base is so much who we are. I said, other bases may be something that's there. This is the heart of what this city's about. And so that's why it's so important. I said, it was just like somebody kicked you in the gut and said, we're going to do something terrible. But I'm going to tell you the way we reacted. The minute that decision was announced, we started working to reopen this base. Now that's against the law, so we called it something else, but it really means for the only base that was ever reopened, that's what we did. It took this community to do that. It's now the nation's premier reserve base, 1,200 active duty, reserve and National Guard troops, and we train and deploy our forces to make sure that they're ready. We also have these great defense contractors in this community that are so important to us. A vital partner in our national defense, Lockheed Martin, 50,000 direct and indirect jobs, and $9 billion to the local economy because of Lockheed Martin, what they do. Bell Helicopters, equally important for this city, 17,500 direct and indirect jobs and $3.8 billion to the local economy. That's what they do here. But see, I get in Congress, I get to see what they do and make sure they keep doing it. And so I worked hard to chair the Appropriations Defense Committee. It's so important. I have 56,000 veterans in my congressional district, one of the largest concentration of veterans in Texas, and we love every one of you. We love every one of you. We appreciate what you do. I tell you, I had to rush here today because I was at United Way, and I serve on the Veterans Funding Committee, and that was a group of people who look every year and say, what veterans organizations need to be funded? How do we help our veterans? And so we spent about 2.5 hours a day going over all the application to say, let's not just say we appreciate what you do, let's make sure that we help you when you're a veteran. Fort Worth and this base play a very critical role in our nation's defense because of people like you. And again, congratulations on the award winners, and thank you all for what you do.
Wow, thank you so much for being here with us today and all your tireless work that you do for us, Representative Granger. Let's see. Also, we've got another wonderful guest that I've mentioned to you, Ray Casas, who represents the Texas Rangers and the Faces of Freedom program. Ray, why don't you come on up here and share with us about your program. Welcome, Ray Casas with the Texas Rangers.
Good afternoon. My name is Ray Casas. We're the Texas Rangers. I work in our front office, and on behalf of our ownership group, on behalf of all of our players, our former players, and our fans, it's my honor to say thank you for your service. The people that I love the most, that I grew up 10 minutes away down the street in Fort Worth, the people that I love the most, they sleep better at night because of you. You protect them each and every day. And there are no amount of thank yous that I can give you that truly appreciate what you all do for this country. So I just want to say thank you personally, and on behalf of the organization. One of the programs that we have that's part of the Texas Rangers Baseball Club is a program called the Faces of Freedom. And if you've ever been to a ball game, you know that we recognize veterans, current, serving, and past, that have fought for us, and we truly appreciate recognizing each and every one of you during every game. But there's a special program called Faces of Freedom that we nominate, or 3 nominated people we recognize one Sunday of every month during the season. There are many awards that they receive if they are nominated, but we have this great trip that we take our Faces of Freedom to Washington, D.C. at the end of the season, and just as a thank you to the families and to those that have served. So I encourage all of you to go to our Texas Rangers website. It's Rangers/community. You'll find Faces of Freedom. If you have anyone that you'd like to nominate, could be a family member, could be a colleague, could be a friend, we hope that you nominate them. It's truly a special award, and I hope to see more of you at the ballpark. And thank you again. And I'd also like to recognize one of our former players. It's hard to get some of our players to come out when it's a game day series. We have the Royals that are in town right now, but one of our past players, Mike Adams, who is sitting right at that table, Mike wanted to come out and say thank you. So I hope that you are able to come and stop by the table and say hello. But thank you again for all your service, and thanks for having me.
All right, thank you so much, Ray. Thank the Texas Rangers for all that they do for our veterans. This is one of the highlights of our afternoon is representing and honoring the veterans that are here on the platform with us today. It's an exciting time for us. I've asked Representative Granger and for Ray Casas to stay up here to make presentations to the veterans. So as I do this, what we'll do is why don't you wave, and then at the end when I read your bio and your story, then you can come up and receive your prize, okay, your award. How does that sound? Right, now I understand we did have one lady that's not here with us today, Miss Tippy Foster, but she's a female, so we just have the one darling here, and I will move on to her. This is the Cook Children's Award, goes to Miss Jean Buford. Did somebody say Tippy is here? Oh, great. Well, while she comes, let's talk about Miss Jean Buford. I'm so glad she's here. Awesome, wonderful. Well, Miss Jean, I just want you to wave at everyone in your pink. She's so cute. Okay. The Cook Children's Award goes to Miss Jean Buford. Jean joined the Navy Waves July 21st, 1944, after she graduated from Texas Tech. She attended boot camp at Hunter College in the Bronx, New York. After boot camp, she attended mail clerk school. While there, she worked in the Fleet Post Office in the Victory Mail section and was one of only 8 women working among 50 men. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Foster, for joining us here. I'm sorry we didn't get you up here sooner. So she was one of just 8 women working among 50 men. After that, she was sent to Algiers, Louisiana Naval Repair Base to work in the directory service. Her job there was keeping up with changes of address for the Navy personnel getting moved around so much. During her time at Algiers, she also participated in the Singing Platoon, a group of female entertainers. Everywhere they marched, they sang. Jean served 19 months before being discharged. After the war, she got married and had children. Jean pursued her music training as a substitute teacher, and she sings now at the Senior Center. Our thanks and honor from Cook Children's and all of us to Miss Jean Buford. All right, we're getting organized up here. Our next award is from the Fort Worth Community Charities, and it's to Miss Tippy Foster. Miss Foster, can you wave at everyone? There she is. Tippy, overcome by her desire to serve her country in a time of war, joined the Navy in 1942. She attended boot camp at Hunter College in the Bronx, New York. After boot camp, she was sent to Memphis, Tennessee, and for the next 6 months, she was trained as an aviation machinist mate. Tippy Foster was somewhat like the lady in one of the popular songs of the time, Rosie the Riveter. Tippy helped keep Navy planes in the air for the next 3 years of duty in Alameda, California. She was discharged in 1945. Tippy can thank the Navy for a major event in her life because that's where she met her future husband while on duty in Alameda. She then flew to Chicago to get married. Her next move was to put her Navy training to work for her on the job with the Mall Tool Company. Later, she moved with her husband to Jacksonville, Florida to start her family. Our thanks and honor to Ms. Tippy Foster. Our next distinguished award goes to another World War II veteran, the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo Award. We present to Mr. Bill McIntyre. Mr. McIntyre, can you? He's right behind me. I'm so sorry. Mr. McIntyre entered the Army on November 2nd, 1942 in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. He did his basic training in Indianapolis, Indiana. He then entered finance school. After completing finance school, he was put on a train and sent to Brooklyn, New York. After that, he was put on a troop ship loaded with soldiers where they spent 15 days on the Atlantic dodging submarines. After 15 days, they went up the Mediterranean and landed in North Africa in March of 1943. They sent him to Algiers, and he was assigned to the 12th Air Force. His occupation there was in finance as a private. He worked his way up and was assigned to the Mediterranean Theater of Operations to take care of all the paperwork to be submitted back to New York for the pilots that were MIA and KIA. He was sent back after VE Day. Bill had a Bronze Star, but not enough points to be discharged. During a 30-day leave, Truman dropped the A-bomb, and that gave Bill enough points to be discharged. He was discharged on October 1945. He then went back to Oklahoma City, went to OU, majored in accounting and minored in law. Bill graduated in 1950. Our thanks and honor to Mr. Bill McIntyre for his service. Our next World War II veteran present with us here is Mr. Dwayne Joes. There he is. All right, Mr. Joes. Dwayne Joes enlisted in November 1942 and was called to duty in January 1943 to the Army Air Force Southeast Training Command in Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi. Dwayne got his wings February 1944. He was assigned to the Barksdale Base B-26 bomber unit as a co-pilot. He was then sent overseas in July of 1944 to a base in Sardinia. He was then assigned to the 17th Bombardment Group, 12th Air Force, that was commanded by General Jimmy Doolittle next to Corsica to support the invasion of southern France and Patton's push up into Europe. He flew into 4 countries, France, Italy, Austria, and Germany. He went over as a co-pilot and later became first pilot. His plane was on a bombing raid in Italy to knock out bridges when flak knocked out one engine. They managed to make it back to the friendly ground when the other engines started to sputter. They finally landed on a British-held airbase under reconstruction. They hit the short runway at over 100 miles per hour and crashed. The Brits had to cut them out. Duane was sent to Rome to recover and received the Purple Heart. After he recovered, he went on to fly 36 more missions. He was sent back to the USA after VE Day. He joined the Army Air Force National Guard and was called back just 3 years later for duty in the Korean War, flying P-51s stateside. He was discharged in 1953. After college, he went to work for 5 years at Cessna Aircraft, then to Bell Helicopter for 30 years, retiring as Senior Vice President over marketing, a position that allowed him to hire many, many Vietnam vets. Our thanks and honor, and also from Bell Helicopter, to Mr. Duane Joes. We have one wonderful veteran that we are honoring today from the Korean War, and this is the Push Mataha Tribe Award to Mr. Jim Sharp. Jim? Jim entered the Army April 7th, 1950, and was assigned to the 1st Cavalry Division. He received his basic training at Fort Riley, Kansas. He attended NCO school for 2 weeks, but they needed personnel in Korea, so he was sent there on September 25th, 1950 to the perimeter with Fox Company. General MacArthur, backed by Congress, ordered the crossing of the 38th parallel north. They battled their way to the Eula River that divided North Korea with China. And that's when Red China entered the war and overwhelmed our troops with over 300,000 combatants. It then became every man for himself to get back south. Jim made it back to Seoul. General MacArthur was replaced by General Ridgway. Jim was wounded in battle near Chongqing in 1951. He was flown to Tokyo to recover. He was awarded the Purple Heart for his wounds. After only 7 weeks of recovery, he was sent back into action. Jim Sharp had to battle his way up the Korean Peninsula 6 times and battle his way back down 6 times. His new unit commander said to him, "You've had your time spent in combat," then assigned him to headquarters duty. Jim Sharp was returned to the U.S. in August of 1953 and was honorably discharged. Our honor and thanks goes to Mr. Jim Sharp. Our next outstanding veteran is from the Vietnam War. The Fort Worth Civic Leader Award goes to Captain Stanley Corvin. Stan was born in a small town in West Texas and was from a military family. His father was a pilot in England before the U.S. entered World War II, then for the U.S. in World War II, and later flew in the Korean War. Stan graduated from Texas Tech and was then drafted into the Army. Stan was assigned to helicopter flight school. After 9 months of training, he became a helicopter pilot in December of 1967. Stan had received his pilot's license while at Texas Tech as a student. Because he had a graduate degree from Texas Tech and demonstrated a high degree of proficiency in flying, he received a direct commission as an officer. In 1968-69, he was flying a chopper in Vietnam in Khe Sanh. While attempting to rescue a downed pilot, Stan was shot 5 times with an AK-47, receiving wounds in the chest and stomach. He was picked up by another chopper, which was immediately shot down. He held the record for the most times shot down in a helicopter in 10 minutes. There were 12,500 Viet Cong in that area. He was rescued 13 hours later thanks to 6 Sandys flying cover to protect him from the entire time. In 1974, the now Captain Stan Corvin retired to enter the banking business. As a banker, Stan was chosen to be an executive director of the Vietnam Veterans Leadership Program, a program designed to assist troubled and traumatized military out of the military and into civilian life. Stan is also an accomplished author, the writer of the Vietnam sagas, and he will be at a table with his book following this program, I'm assuming right over here. We honor and thank Mr. Stanley Corvin for your service. Next, we have the Texas Rangers Baseball Eyes of Freedom Award. This is presented to, let's see, where are we? I think we're in Middle East, Persian Gulf, and the more current wars. This is presented from the Texas Rangers Baseball Award, Eyes of Freedom Award, to Mr. R.C. Shields, Sr. R.C. Shields Sr. enlisted in the U.S. Marines February 7, 1990, and did his basic training at the Marine San Diego base. After basic training, he then went into combat training. After that training, he was assigned to the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marine Kilo Company at Camp Pendleton, California. R.C. Shields then was then deployed to the Persian Gulf in December of 1990, leaving a pregnant wife behind. His wife panicked at the thought that he might not return to see their child. R.C. saw combat action in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. After taking part in that conflict and after his tour of duty was over, R.C. Shields was then returned to the U.S. in July of 1991. R.C. then focused his life on trying to help military veterans and is now over all the military volunteers, or the veteran volunteers, as the Voluntary Services Specialist Supervisor at the VA North Texas Fort Worth Center. Our thanks and honor to Mr. R.C. Shields, Sr. Our final esteemed veteran is given the award, the Nelrod Company Award, to Mr. John Arroyo. John Arroyo left his home in Whittier, California when he enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1998 and was sent to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and that's where he was stationed for the next 15 years. The majority of his service was as a Green Beret, and he was assigned to the 3rd Special Forces Group at Fort Bragg. John was commissioned as an Army Medical Service Group officer as a Green Beret in 2013. As a Green Beret, he was deployed and saw action in Afghanistan twice and once in Iraq. John retired in December of 2018 with 20 years of military service. An event then occurred that affected John Arroyo's life. While at Fort Hood, Texas, John became one of the victims of the crazed shooter. 6 soldiers were killed, and John was shot at point-blank range. The shot severed his jugular vein, destroyed his voice box, then lodged in his shoulder, paralyzing his right arm. He survived the shooting, and through sheer determination and the grace of God, has recovered. Doctors were amazed that John survived and had no explanation as to why he was still alive. John realized that a miracle had given him a second chance at life. John has become a gifted speaker, delivering his second chance stories that moves and influences those in the audiences hearing his message. He speaks at schools, military installations, businesses, and nonprofit groups. He is on his way to becoming an ordained minister. John is also blessed with a lovely wife and 3 children. Our honor and thanks to Mr. John Arroyo. Outstanding. Let us honor all of these fabulous veterans here on the platform that joined us today one more time. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you. Thank you for honoring them. Amazing stories. Well, that was exciting. I really want to just thank Matt Hoffman, our audio support right here. This guy is, he's the Meister. He is also an Air Force reservist serving as an adjunctant for the 301st Mission Support Group here at the base in Fort Worth. He has been a performer and an audio engineer. His works have appeared on the country gospel charts as well as the SoundCloud new and hot jazz and blues chart. Matt, thank you so much for helping us. He's really worked hard for us. Thank you so much. Our camera videographer and recording of events is Bob Adams. He's a former Carswell Air Force Base fireman and president of the B-36 Museum located in Fort Worth Aviation Museum at Meacham Airport. He's presently restoring a vintage 011 military fire truck, and he needs help with the paint job. So just in case, Bob, thank you so much for all that you've done to help us. And just before I finish, I want to just let you know that our amazing sponsors that really support the Civic Leaders Organization and the Fort Worth Charities is a wonderful list. There's many more than this, but just to name a few: Lockheed Martin, the Fort Worth Air Power Foundation, Texas Ranger Baseball, the Pushmahaha Tribe 8, Fort Worth Area Civic Leaders Association, Bell Helicopter, Cook Children's, Howell Instruments, MedStar, Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo, the Nelrod Company, the Fort Worth Human Resource Management Association, Veritex Bank, Susan Irvin, Johnson's Press, Westside Cafe, and many, many others. Thank you, all of our sponsors. You've been wonderful. Thank you for your attention and listening to the stories of these brave, amazing veterans and so many other stories that we would love to tell. We can't wait for Barbecue 19. And now it is time, Mr. Don Graves, to come back and be Kate, okay? Come and sing God Bless America for us. Come on, we'll help you. Well, my musicians, I want you to sing, right after this, I want Michael to sing that song. I'm sorry, but we got a little bit long. Y'all come up and sing God Bless America with Don. All right, Don. No talking, just singing. All right, all right, all right. We love y'all. Everyone stand, please.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean. Why, but God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Thank you. God bless you.
All right, God bless you all. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you again, Representative Granger, for being with us today. God bless you all, and thank you. Have a fabulous summer.